It's 17:30 GMT. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. I am Umaru Sanda Amadou, and tonight I'm here with
Eno Safo.
And coming up over the next 90 minutes, organized labor's quest to embark on a strike from Thursday over galamsey appears to be a tougher one than leaders anticipated, as Ghanaian doctors under the umbrella of Ghana Medical Association serves notice they would not take part in the mass action. Also coming up, we'll take you to the streets of Accra, where proponents and supporters of the Anti-LGBTQ bill have been demonstrating to demand expedited judicial action on the case currently before the courts. And later on Eyewitness News.
In 24 hours, the Chief Justice gave judgment for the Attorney General and for government. She must do same for the people of Ghana. We demand same. It is our taxes that pay her salary.
That's actually someone at George who convinced that particular group. Meanwhile, on Eyewitness News, all but two, so all 53 but two of the Democracy Hub protesters have been granted bail. 98.5 FM in Aflao. In the Savannah region, we are on Kasha, 99.5 FM in Damongo. We are live also on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, and we are on our website, citynewsroom.com. You can send us messages using the WhatsApp number 0549 986 996. Alternatively, go on Twitter, now known as X, and drop your messages there using the hashtag City Newsroom or Eyewitness News. My handle is at Umaru Sanda. You can also tweet at City973. We start off with organized labor and the committee that organized labor leaders had hoped for. I'm opening for you a story on Channel 1 TV, channel1news.com, and it says, Galamsey, continue working, no roadmap for strike, GMA. Story by Abigail Arthur, published a few hours ago, says the Ghana Medical Association has stated that it is yet to issue a roadmap for industrial action amidst the impending nationwide strike by organized labor. The statement signed by Dr. Frank Sribo, GMA president, the statement continues to say, or the story that continues to say, organized labor, government and public health. The government had held a meeting with organized labor led by the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in an attempt to prevent the strike, but the request to post across multiple sectors, including education, transport, and other essential service providers. So that is it. If you are just joining us, the statement that is issued and signed by Dr. Frank Sribo, president of the Ghana Medical Association, appears to dissociate itself with a planned nationwide strike, and members are expected to continue providing full services without interruptions. The GMA, however, is in solidarity with the organized labor in this fight against galamsey. The National Executive Council will give further information when necessary. Dr. Med Frank Sribo, president of the Ghana Medical Association, signing that. We'll be getting reactions to this particular issue, and also the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources spoke to us this morning on the City Breakfast Show, which is an interview that is of interest because the land are vested. Eno has a summary of that story. Eno, please share with us.
The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abdullahi Janapo, has debunked reports claiming that more than 1,400 mining licenses have been issued by the ministry from 2022 to date. This clarification comes after allegations surfaced suggesting that between 1988 and November 2022, only 150 licenses were issued, but more than 1,400 licenses have reportedly been approved since 2022. Speaking on the City Breakfast Show with Bernard Avle on Tuesday, October 8, the minister firmly rejected these claims. He also reacted to calls for the declaration of a state of emergency on galamsey.
Tell your candid view on the state of emergency and why you think it may not be the way to go, because almost everybody else is convinced that the government has to do that to show that it sees the seriousness of this crisis situation with galamsey.
Well, I'm not taking a position on that. The Attorney General is a person who will be in a better position to advise the president and the government on the full ramifications of that kind of move. But as I said, I do know that a state of emergency will essentially mean that you're suspending the rights of all the people in that catchment area, whether they are connected to mining directly or indirectly. They can be arrested and kept for 48 hours, more than 48 hours without being charged and put before court. The curfews can be imposed, and so on and so forth. And then the question as to whether or not we cannot get on with what we have to continue with in order to achieve our objectives without having to have this, state of affairs which will affect people who are not involved in any form or shape with mine. But anyway, I don't want to make a categorical. I don't want to take a categorical view on this matter.
There has been a claim made that between 1988 and November 2022, only 150 licenses were issued in Ghana, right?
Making that. It's because you don't grant licenses. That is why the sector is not formalized enough, or that is why the sector is not regulated enough. And that is why people then resort to illegal small-scale mining. And that one of the tools for dealing with illegal small-scale mining is promoting legal small-scale mining, and therefore approving licenses expeditiously and bringing the small-scale miners within the ambit of the regulatory framework or ecosystem where the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission can then police their work and so on and so forth. Of course, I also recognize that people within having licenses perpetuate illegalities, which is that they have the license, but what they are doing in substance or on the ground is illegal small-scale mining. Okay, so the suggestion that even one regime has given more licenses then suggests that regime is promoting illegal small-scale mining. That in itself
so if you're saying it's false, correct. So that was why I'm saying.
No, but let me just add one last point. Please.
Okay.
The criticism was so heightened that it was so heightened, and the small-scale miners association actually threatened a demonstration against me, and it got to a point where I had to sign about 99 or 100 licenses at a go. I don't sign licenses
under pressure. Or on merit or under pressure?
No, on merit. On merit because I then set up a committee to double vet these applications, and the committee chaired by a gentleman called Mr. Benai. You can find out, a very distinguished public servant who's been a chief executive of the Minerals Commission under President Rawlings, who is now my advisor on mining, whom I have a lot of confidence.
So you had to sign the 99 after that. My question is, was it based on...
I did in 2022.
Fair enough. The question I'm asking is that based on a policy... I'm coming. I want to understand you. What is the overriding policy you were working with? Because if the demand for licenses of small-scale nature is even going up, whether it's 1 million people who are requiring or requesting, whatever you do must be determined by your overriding policy, which is what we want to know. So what does your policy say? What did your policy recommend? Or was it the demand that they placed that required you to then get Mr. Ayu to then go through and approve the 99?
Yes, the policy, so it's a very good question. Not just the policy and the law. The law and the policy is that there's a whole rigorous process which you go through, beginning from the district level, the Minerals Commission office at the district, which you go through all the way to the Minerals Commission, and by law, I think it's even by both the Constitution and by Act 703, the Minerals Commission then makes a recommendation to the minister to approve that license or that application. The minister cannot approve the application without the recommendation of the Minerals Commission. And when the Minerals Commission makes the recommendation, the minister only will disapprove or should disapprove the application in very exceptional circumstances on stated grounds. So the point is that the point is more or less, if the Minerals Commission makes the recommendation, the presumption is that the Minerals Commission has crossed its T's, has dotted its I's, is satisfied itself that this application is meritorious, and therefore the minister should approve it. But I'm saying to you that the suggestion that approving licenses in themselves is rather promoting galamsey. On the contrary, approving licenses rather should curb galamsey, because then you are formalizing the sector.
If you can just clarify for me, does the government consider the current situation a crisis one or not? What is the classification of the government on this particular matter?
Thank you.
Well, I'm not too sure that the issue of classification and all of that is, the most important thing is that we have had a challenge, we have had a problem in this country for many years. And I'm not too sure we will have the opportunity to exhaust this subject. Perhaps we should find an occasion for me to come in studio for us to have a...
But if you admit that,
then it determines your response.
No. Let me just finish, please. I'm saying to you, if you take a cursory look at the history of small-scale mining in Ghana from the 1980s all through to this point, you will see how this situation has evolved. If you take other examples too, if you go to Cote d'Ivoire, we have a major problem with illegal small-scale mining. If you go to South Africa, sometimes the paramilitary they use to confront small-scale mining are even overpowered, and law enforcement agents are killed, and so on and so forth. There they call it Zamazama. What we call galamsey, they call it Zamazama. In fact, even if you go to Australia, one of the biggest problems their mining industry has is called prospecting. Prospectus. That's what they call galamsey there. The long-standing issue of the extractive industry, whether in the petrochemical sector or in the mining sector, and illegalities and all of that. There's a lot of literature on that. It is not to justify the situation we find ourselves in, what we have today. But the point I'm making is that this has been a work in progress. This has been an effort which has been ongoing over a period of time. Every now and again, we are required to pause, to review, to evaluate, to amend, and to move forward. I believe that we are at that stage as we speak in terms of people contributing their views on how we should continue from here. But I want to also make this point, and do so very respectfully and very modestly, that this government is made in its considerable interventions when it comes to illegal small-scale mining, and even has brought it to the front burner of Ghanaian national discourse. Multiple times have I been to nationals of chiefs across the country, everywhere. Multiple times have I met Regional Security Council. Multiple times have I gone to nationals with the president, burning of excavators, declaring river bodies as red zones, and so on and so forth. Is the situation we find ourselves in today satisfactory? No. It is not. The situation is not. What has to be done? We have to be relentless. We have to be relentless. We have to continue with our concerted efforts. And we need everybody on board.
Fair enough.
You heard the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abdullahi Jinapor.
Let's get some reactions to that interview and other issues around the galamsey fight. Engineer Ken Ashigbe is convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. He's joined us online. Sir, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you very much.
Before I ask you to comment on what the minister said, what do you make of the seeming division on the labor front ahead of Thursday? So organized labor announces a strike for Thursday. Yesterday, we spoke to a group, someone who said he represents a group of people who said they were not consulted and did not think that going on a demonstration or starting the strike on Thursday was the way to go. Now, no less a state organization or association than the Ghana Medical Association issues a statement tonight and urges its members to continue to do their work, which means that on Thursday they may most likely not be part of the strike. There was a call for unison so that the government believes and knows that this is a serious issue, that Ghanaian workers are really asking for some action to be taken. But with divisions like this, you reckon there will be problem in forcing the hand of the government to act?
Well, it's a shame that we have the Ghana GMA, who were one of the early institutions to have broached the need to use various legal and democratic tools to get a solution from a problem which is more medical than anything else. The challenges with the renal diseases that we're seeing, the challenges with silicosis that we're seeing, the deaths that are occurring in the pit, the spontaneous abortions that we're beginning to link to, the mining and its related activities. And so it's quite difficult to see why the GMA would want to, dissociate themselves with this action, but say they have, I saw in their statement somewhere about lending some support to the action. Because this is a national crisis, and in terms of the engagement, if you look at what it is that organized labor is. It is three different groupings that come together and all the numbers. And I'm not too sure that this conversations about this, when it started giving the end of September as timelines and all of that, have been hidden from anybody else. We will just wish and pray that because a lot more people would come and support this particular cause. And why is it that we're pushing this particular cause? It's basically so that the president would act, and then we would be able to stop the scourge of the poisoning that as a country we are being subjected to, the deaths that are happening, the renal diseases that are happening, and all of that. And you know the interesting thing, Omaro, in most of these, heavy illegal mining places, not only are you getting renal diseases also on the high, the incidence of even HIV, it's on the high. And so the health implications is really dire. And I'm hoping that the GMA would reconsider their decision. But be that it may, I think we have a good number of, labor. Today's civil society groups within the SDG platform, for example, you have CSOs themselves also supporting the strike and, telling their staff, to also declare a strike at that particular point in time. So, posterity will judge all of us, on what we did when Ghana was at the point of self-poisoning itself to extinction. Where did people stand? And fortunately, the internet does not forgive, and neither does it forget.
Interesting. So the president himself has not publicly said anything about all the calls that have been made, although there's been a meeting between the president and leaders of organized labor. His minister, though, for Lands and Natural Resources spoke to Bernard Avler on the Citi Breakfast Show this morning. And he said a number of things. Key amongst them, he debunks the claim that some 1,400 mining licenses have been issued by this government since 2022, and also promises to deploy river guards and the Navy to fight galamsey. Does that sound reassuring?
Again, so on the issues, he had promised Bernard he was going to share the data was on its own, and he was going to share it. I'm hoping that by now he would have shared it so that, Umaru, you could get Bernard to give that data to you so that we would know it. For me, on the side about the number of licenses, again, some of the things the minister said about, because for a very long time, the pushback, because we've been involved in this, the small-scale miners were complaining that he was not signing the licenses. So I knew that was also a factor. But then the argument others have made was, liberalize the way the licenses are done so that you can get a lot more people licensed. But the other question, so that's one side. But the other question you would ask is that what capacity has the EPA, what capacity has the Minerals Commission got to be able to supervise as many licenses as possible? So you would need to do a balance of the fact that you want to make it easy for people to get licenses with the capacity to also be able to supervise what it is that they are doing. So that definitely is a conversation that we need to have.
Talking about capacity, yesterday the Minerals Commission boss was before the Government Assurances Committee, and he said they had all the capacity they need, the staff strength that they require to do their work, which means that shouldn't be a challenge, the Minerals Commission's perspective at least. But
you see, again, if they have the capacity to be able to do their work, Mr. Matei then should not have been complaining about the fact that, behind the Yinim police station, there was galamsey happening, and his officer had said it and nothing. Then there would have been enough people to have stopped it. So I'm not too sure that the numbers that we currently have licensed to be able to mine, and again, it's the evidence on the ground. There are places now that when you go across the bridges, you see some fans on the water body. So if there was enough capacity for the Minerals Commission, and then by extension, the district and municipal mining committees and district security committees, these things that we're talking about will not happen.
Are you not confusing capacity with the will to do this? Perhaps there's capacity, but there's no will or instruction to do this. Don't you think so?
Combination of both. it's a combination of both, So there's the issues of the will, there's the issues of the leadership, but there's also the issues of the capacity, the number of theaters of mining that we have opened, and the ability for the people to be everywhere to be able to ensure that the right things are done. So there's a capacity issue with the numbers that we are seeing, and that's why I would wait to see, the numbers that the minister had promised to share with Bernard, to see what the numbers are. And again, so it's, it will be important for Mr. Iti to be able to also put out the numbers of, officers that they have, what tools and equipment, vehicles that they have at their disposal to be able to do the work that they are doing. But on the second question about river guards and the Navy, again, you see, in the state in which we are, where the media coalition, the Labour, and now by extension the Ghana coalition, and including all the 53 or so people that have issued statements that have had demands, a bit of specificity would be important in terms of the actions that are being taken. When is it that we are going to see people, on these river bodies? But, for me, a major challenge is the fact that if you look at the statement that was issued by the Minister for Information, it's still silent about the issue of the state of emergency, that is required in parts of the country. We're not asking for the entire country. Already, we know the water bodies, the buffers of the water bodies up to 100 meters. It's illegal to mine on them. So declaring the state of emergency over that would not be a problem. You have declared, these forest reserves as red zones, but we know for a fact that even as they are red zones, there are people in them, destroying them and all of that. And you take the journalists who themselves do not have any intelligence, no security, they are able to bring us evidence of that. So it means that old policy of red zones have not worked. That is why our proposal is the fact that declare those places no-go areas, so that, anybody who goes there knows that, this is the repercussion of it.
Before you go, talk to me about the SDG platform or the civil society platform. What the intention for Thursday would be. I mean, you may not be able to go on strike because you may not be public sector workers. What is the plan from the civil society platform? We are told, 500 CSOs?
Yes, the 500 CSOs, they've all asked their people to also lay down their tools. But Omaro, the GPRTU, they are not really public workers. But they've also declared the intention that they would go on strike. So the point about this is that this is a national cause, and that is altruistic. This is not the case where, if you take the GMA, for example, if it was the allowances, they will be out there, making the strikes and all of that. But then when it comes to about saving all of us, you then start hearing some of these, these excuses. It's really mind-boggling. So definitely, one of the things that we are also doing, the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, we're starting the Red Band, campaign to coincide with Thursday, so that we are asking all Ghanaians, who have Ghana at heart, to wear the red band, to put it on their vehicles, their bicycles, their motorbikes, everywhere that we can wear the red band as a sign of defiance, silent protest, to let His Excellency the President and those who have to take the action that they should take the action, and then also to let those who are perpetrating this poisoning against us that really we want them to act. So when even the President takes the action, we would be pushing to ensure that those who are involved in it also become aware. So on Friday, no matter what happens, the Catholic Church in Accra, would embark on that prayer walk, and they will be talking to themselves. The placards they will be carrying will be talking to themselves, will be talking to Catholics themselves who are involved in it, Catholics who are places where they have to take action, and then those who are also doing it. And then we will walk from Holy Spirit Cathedral all the way to Christ the King from 10 a.m. And then some of the leaders of the church will go and present a petition to His Excellency the President. Our prayer is that by Friday when we go, the President would have taken an action, and so that our prayer would now have to be how God helps him to be able to succeed in what it is that he's going to do. But if he's not taking an action, then our prayer would be for God to move his hand so that he actually takes the actions that are necessary to save us from this calamity that befalls us of genocidal proportion.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. We pray it doesn't get there. Engineer Ken Ashigbe there. He's convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. Just by way of quick information and update, so the University Teachers Association of Ghana has agreed in principle to embark on this strike, but they need branch support. So they've started voting across their branches to decide on whether or not they're going to take part. So at the University of Ghana campus, UTAG members voted to decide whether or not they'll be joining the strike on Thursday. And out of the 443 people who voted, university teachers who voted, those who said no, let's not go on strike, were 88. That's representing 19, almost 20%. And then 355 teachers voted to say yes, let's go on a strike, representing 80.14%. So that is on the UTAG front. We are told that at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST campus, they are currently voting. The results will be out by midday tomorrow, so we know whether they will be supporting the strike on Thursday or not. Meanwhile, the Public Services Workers Union of TUC has issued a statement. Let me read that for you. It says, management's dealing with the PSWU. DSM Madam, Organized Labor Nationwide Strike Action. We extend our warm felicitations. This is actually a letter, so for distribution, and it says, we extend our warm felicitations to you and further notify you of organized labor. Copy attached. Press statement released on Tuesday, 1st October 2024, declaring a nationwide strike with effect from Thursday, 10th October 2024. Following the expiration of the deadline given by organized labor and the failure of government to meet the demands on illegal mining, known as galamsey, organized labor has decided to go ahead with the planned nationwide strike. In view of the above, all PSWU, that's the Public Services Workers Union of TUC members, being part of the TUC and organized labor, are directed to stay off work effective Thursday, 10th October 2024, until further notice. All managements dealing with the PSWU are hereby notified and implored to respect the decision of organized labor. We count on your usual cooperation in this regard. Yours faithfully, for PSWU of TUC, Bernard Eje, General Secretary. So Bernard Eje, General Secretary of the Public Services Workers Union of TUC, issuing that statement saying that they will be joining organized labor on the strike, for the strike on Thursday. Talking about other groups that are joining, we have a group of students that is planning to join this demonstration. Eno, tell us more.
The Graduate Students Association of Ghana has announced its intention to join the Catholic Bishops' Conference and the Catholic Church in its prayer protest on October 11. The association says its decision to join the protest is as a result of the alarming environmental degradation through illegal mining activities. National President of GRASAG, Emmanuel Owusu, speaking to City News, says the ongoing galamsey operation threatened the future of the country's environment. He joined calls for the government to declare a state of emergency against the menace.
Our National Executive Committee have been very concerned about the galamsey issues, more particularly when we have over 100,000 of our members across the country who consume water on our various campuses. And of course, it has become a concern to us for us to add our voices to it. And we thought it wise that, of course, there's an action already going on. So we decided, okay, let's join the Catholic Church in protesting and also putting our voices out there. We would also want to join the organized labor call for a to declare state of emergency. I mean, we've gotten to the point where we cannot take it anymore. And so, yes, we cannot overemphasize it. We've seen the canker that is being caused. We've seen the devastating effect of galamsey on our water body. So our call at this point is that let's declare a state of emergency on this. Let's all come together as a nation. We want to also implore the politicians not to be politicized. We have seen some conversations, some banter between the two key political parties, the NDC and the MPP. We want the president to act. I mean, of course, he put his presidency on the line some time ago. We've not seen much of that. This is the time for him to make very decisive decisions on it. And I have seen the Ministry of Foreign, the Ministry of Information statement. When I saw the statement, I laughed because I didn't see any strong word coming from the government on how they are going to deal with it. So.
You heard the national president of the Graduate Students Association of Ghana, Emmanuel Owusu.
This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We take a break. When we come back, there's more, including that demonstration today by the proponents of the Anti-LGBTQ bill, plus the granting of bail to all but 2 of the Democracy Hub protesters. Please stay.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Hi, Aku. I just got the estimate for the home repairs. It's more than we expected. I'm really stressed about where to find the money.
Why worry? Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You're welcome back. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are coming to you from our studios in Adabrak, in Accra. The hashtag we are using is Stop Galamsey Now, which is a campaign that we started in 2017 and we are continuing. And if you look at the story we have on Channel 1 TV, our website, channel1news.com, there's a story there, Election 2024, renewed Galamsey focus is politically motivated. This according to Kwabena Ejepon. Story by Abigail Arthur says, Kwabena Ejepon, a senior campaign advisor to the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has accused the opposition National Democratic Congress NDC of deliberately orchestrating the renewed focus on illegal mining, commonly known as galamsey, to tarnish the image of the ruling government. He was speaking on the point of view with Bernard Avle last night on Channel 1 television. Let's listen to him.
Now, because there's a lot of sentiment within the public space around the ills of galamsey. How is that affecting you guys on the field?
It's just a failure of the opposition to campaign. And so now they think,
opposition?
Of course. If you're a serious opposition who believes that you're going to win an election, you will not be creating or orchestrating chaos in the country.
Oh, so you think that galamsey is an opposition orchestration?
Let me tell you something.
Wow.
Let me tell you something. Galamsey has been around for a long time. In fact, in 2022, I, as a candidate, said I would support a moratorium on surface mining.
Yeah.
And I said several things. I've never been a supporter of mining, anyway, because I'm an environmentalist. And I do believe that Africa and Ghana, after 100 years of mining, we've just given money to the cartel in Australia, in Canada, in South Africa, and in UK, the longs of the world. And for anything that we don't benefit from, they give us just a pittance. And they have taking our riches, whether it's in Congo or Ghana or Guinea. So I'm someone who is not in favor of mining.
Generally?
Generally. And
Okay.
I even said at the time that I think that if indeed our generation cannot let the people benefit from mining, they will leave the
metal in
at
the
that
earth.
time, all the people making the noise, were they not in this country? So what has changed? There are 60 days to elections. What has changed in the heat of a campaign? In the heat of a campaign, especially in 2020.
So what are you insinuating, that this whole Stop Galamsey Now is orchestrated by the opposition?
I'm saying that we have an election. So if it is a genuine concern about dealing with galamsey and what has to be done, then the proponents of that should have a plan and sit with the two key parties.
But they've proposed, they've listed what should be done.
No, that is not. Do you know
the Ghana Academy of Arts and Science have listed 4 things.
When you say
that
there should be a state of emergency, do you know that?
The Ghana,
2 months to an election,
Ghana Academy
there should be a state of emergency in Ghana?
On the 15th of December 2023, the Academy issued a 16-page press statement.
2023.
I'm telling you.
And you guys never
ventilated
it.
It was in the news.
Never ventilated
and they proposed
you know,
4 actions, including revocation of the LI to allow mining in forest reserves. They asked for a halt of surface mining, and they asked for a plan because they said
they were supporting what I said.
But this is
what I said.
I'm challenging your point that this is 2 months.
This
is 2023 December.
Saying that
so it couldn't be 2 months.
No, what I'm trying to say is I said this in 2022.
So
what is happening is very sad for our country. That's
Kwabena Ejepon. He's a senior campaign advisor to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, speaking on the point of view with Bernard Avle last night, accusing the NDC. Mustafa Gbande is a deputy general secretary of the NDC in charge of operations. He's joining us on the line. Mr. Gbande, welcome to Eyewitness News. You stand accused of orchestrating this recent anti-galamsey fight to score you a political point. In fact, yesterday, the LPG leader made a similar claim, and now Kwabena Ejepon makes another claim that you, the NDC, are behind this so that you would win political power. How do you respond?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to our cherished listeners. It doesn't come to us as a surprise because clearly the government of President Akufo-Addo, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, lacks the wisdom to resolve this matter. And so one of the ways to get themselves out of the hanging tree is to begin to politicize the matter. It's quite unfortunate. And to think that the NDC is behind influencing trade union, the academic body, art and science intellectual body, who have also spoken against this, the church fraternity, the Islamic fraternity, who are all not accusing anyone, but simply saying that the menace is devastating our society. Government should find a solution to save our water body and our forest. If the MPP then goes out to accuse the NDC, then it just tells you the mark of disregard, the mark of incompetence, the speed at which this government will continue to sink your country if you rely on President Akufo-Addo to save them. Now, when Kwabena Japan was accusing this government, having run down the economy, when the same person stated that President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia have run down cocoa board for the third time in the history of our country, at that time, he referred to the Ghanaian economy or the Ghanaian governance as a lesson of what not to do to the rest of the world. Did the NDC influence Kwabena Japan? So this is a person who lacks the credibility to talk on behalf of the people of Ghana. Clearly, he's a sellout and he's somebody who follows his stomach. And so he will come up with this kind of statement. This evening, it has just been exposed that the Deputy Minister of Land, Milekuduka, is a meeting with galamseyers and assuring them that they will continue to mine. Is it the NDC behind it? When the National Women's Organizer of the MPP, Kate Jemfua, told the whole of Ghanaian people that President Akufo-Addo and their government will not save our water bodies until elections are over, was it the NDC inciting her to say these things? And so when you have government functionaries and this level of disregard, you can see Kwabena Japan is even uninformed. He doesn't even know that Academy of Art and Science, the Institute of Art and Science, have written a 15-page report about this. He doesn't even know, but yet he is a presidential campaign advisor. Omaru, what has happened is that their campaign have collapsed. Okay? 3 days ago, the BNI report that was given to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, which they debriefed, suggests that Ghanaians will not vote for them. They are going to do another research. Okay? They know that the galamsey issue has sunk this government. And so for them to save themselves, let us bring in the NDC, let us politicize this. And it's unfortunate that they now think that the people of credibility, the journalists of credibility, sound mind within a trade union, within the religious fraternity, within the media fraternity, the young men of this country who are hit by the devastating effect of the destruction caused by mining are all influenced by the NDC. This, our political party, is that powerful and is that favorable in the eyes of Ghanaians to be able to run down a whole government because of these. Look, Omaru, President Akufo-Addo doesn't have the appetite, the leadership flair to deal with this matter because, you see, he is a full beneficiary and somebody who endorses these destructions that have occurred. And the NDC will repeat that we are not against any Ghanaian engaged in mining. We will not stop Ghanaians from mining any day, but we will promote what responsible mining is. The current devastation, the young men who were mining in 2014, 15, 16 are the same young men who are mining today. This is the first time we've seen the real effect of these things. It is caused by the Chinese people that this government have brought into this country.
Okay.
Look, go and check the Chinese embassy. The number of Chinese nationals who are in this country in the mining sector. Who brought them? The people who own the mining lease are not mining. And I dare President Akufo-Addo and the national security, let us form a team involving all political parties, involving the media. Let us go and show mining site of his ministers and senior members within his government who are mining in water bodies, not just alluvial mining, in water bodies. One to me is one of them. Mining in water bodies. What are they talking about?
Let's leave it here. Thank you so much for speaking to us. That's Mustafa Gbande, Deputy General Secretary of the NDC in charge of operations. Let's talk about another mass action that happened today. A demonstration on the streets of Accra over anti-LGBTQI. It was actually for the expedition of the bill or the hearing on the case involving that particular bill. Simon Ate George is NDC MP for Ningo Pram Pram. He led the team on the streets today. He spoke to us yesterday. He's joined us now. You're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you very much, Omar. Good evening to your listeners.
Good evening to you. What would be the assessment from your perspective of your demonstration today? Would you say you'd be able to send the message you wanted to?
I believe so. I believe that we had a very productive and successful Family Values March. Let me use your platform to say a very big thank you to the Ghana Police Service, led by the regional commander, Commander Ahin. Very professional in the discharge of their duties. They provided security and worked peacefully with us. And I mean, they were very malleable. And I want to say a very big thank you to the Ghana Police. I also want to say a very big thank you to the clergy, both Christian, Bishop S.N. Mensah, who walked with us from the beginning all the way to the end. I mean, for a man at that age and of his stature to do that, we're most grateful. To the Imam who came from the office of the Chief Imam, we also say a very big thank you to Numo Belenfo, who actually walked from Second all the way to the Supreme Court. I mean, for me, seeing such action, and the several bishops and pastors and clergy imams who were present, the Safwanyeme, I mean, it was extremely heartwarming. And to see the Ghanaians that came out in the tens of thousands today, we just want to say a big thank you. And I think that the judiciary got the message. We delivered our petition at the Attorney General. Your former colleague, Wilberforce, who is now PRO for the Attorney General's Department, came out to receive on behalf of the AGs.
Oh, no, someone, I think, George. Since when did he get appointment? I thought he works with Asasi Radio, and the PRO or the spokesperson of the Attorney General is Wilberforce Mensah. Okay, you are referring to Wilberforce Mensah, Spiky.
Yes, Wilberforce Mensah.
Okay, correct. Continue, sorry.
Yes. And so he came to receive the petition on behalf of the AGs and assured that the AGs was going to work expeditiously to do what is needful, because we drew his attention to the fact that the Chief Justice has literally took the AG and said that the AG is failing to do their job. And he said that he would communicate to him to the AG and they will work on things expeditiously. At the Supreme Court, we had a magistrate of the Circuit Court who came to meet us. We also had the registrar of the Supreme Court herself come in person. We had the director of communications and his deputy of the Judicial Service, and we also had the head of security for the Judicial Service. And so we're extremely grateful to all of them. I believe that the message has been sent loud and clear, and we are hopeful that the Chief Justice, we have stated emphatically that within 14 days, we want to get a timetable from her that spells out what exactly the roadmap is to the conclusion of the case.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. That's Honorable Simon Ate George, NDC MP for Ningo Pram Pram. Now, 52 Democracy Hub protesters have so far been granted bail. This is after the Circuit Court in Accra today admitted 31 persons to bail after the High Court had earlier granted bail to 21 of them. The 31 Democracy Hub protesters were placed on a 20,000 cedi bail bond with one surety each. This brings to 52 the total number of persons granted bail out of the 53 who were arrested. Bail was, however, denied again to Oliver Bakavomawo, a leader of the Democracy Hub group. Prior to proceedings at the Circuit Court, lawyers of the accused on Tuesday sought to secure their release at the High Court, but they were met with opposition from the Office of the Attorney General, which caused the court to adjourn the case to Wednesday. Their lawyers, however, repeated the bail application at the Circuit Court and was granted by the judge. Among those released is Raphael Williams and Fanny Otu, who is said to be in and out of hospital since his arrest. The case has been adjourned to October 22nd for case management conference. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Up next is business news. And then on Point Blank, we'll give you an opportunity to listen to a longer version of that interview that Kwabena Ejapong had with Bernard Avle on The Point of View last night, where he talked about Galamsey, the campaign currently being orchestrated by the NDC, and other issues about the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign. Please stay.
News. Be there as it happens.
Are you feeling tired after a hard day's work?
policies that affect your business. City Business News. Be informed.
Time now for City Business News on Eyewitness News. My name is Inusafa. Let's settle for the details. The Petroleum Commission is stepping up to reduce losses in Ghana's upstream petroleum sector. Speaking at the Ghana Upstream Fiscal Measurement Seminar in Accra, the acting head of metering and instrumentation, Engineer Che Bafo, said, while the industry currently performs at an average level, the Commission will, through the implementation of more robust metering systems and law enforcement, bring down system losses.
It's more about exposure, and of course everybody has their own risk perception and stuff like that. So of course the companies have to be willing themselves to ensure that they are getting accurate measurement, because somebody's losing. Somebody's always losing. If there's an exposure, there's maybe a 0.5% offset from the standard. That is enough to want you to invest in it to make sure that you're getting it back to the standard where it's acceptable within the sector. To ensure that the temperature transmitters are calibrated to the best standards, to ensure that its periodic maintenance are adhered to. And that is what we try and do with all the facilities. We make sure that their maintenance plan that are submitted in the beginning of the year are followed throughout the year. So we go there periodically for that to ensure that. But that's just an example of how a small offset can have compounding effect on the measurement and the possible losses that can happen either way. Somebody will always lose if there's mismeasurement.
Engineer Che Bafo is the acting head of metering and instrumentation at the Petroleum Commission. Rising tensions in the Middle East have sparked concerns within the energy sector as crude oil prices surge on the global market, while it has rippling effects on local fuel prices. But is it all gloom for Ghana being a crude oil production country? City Business News' Daniel Sakite in this report explores the potential windfalls for Ghana from rising crude oil prices.
According to data from the National Petroleum Authority's petroleum price indicators, crude oil is averaging a little above $77 per barrel, representing a 3.13% increase between late September and early October. Energy sector players have warned that the rise in global crude oil prices, coupled with the depreciation of the cedi, could lead to an increase in fuel prices by the end of the year. However, they also note a potential windfall for Ghana as revenue from crude oil is projected to increase. Duncan Amwa, Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, emphasized in an interview that this windfall should be used to cushion consumers.
Government should have a strategy. Possibly, if I'm making more from my petroleum exports, that is revenue unexpected. I should be able to think of some of the taxes easing so that the consumer here could at least be a bit stable in the face of these geopolitical developments.
With crude oil production in Ghana declining for the fourth consecutive year, as production has dropped from a peak of 71.44 million barrels in 2019 to 48.25 million barrels in 2023, Duncan Amwa is advocating for policies that will revitalize the upstream petroleum sector, encouraging increased production that will ensure that Ghana can capitalize on higher crude oil prices.
We have not invested in the upstream to be able to add on new wells. If we had done that, I'm sure our production volumes wouldn't be declining. But as it stands, what we need to do now is to focus on developing a favorable upstream space.
You heard the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amwa, ending that report by City Business News' Daniel Sakite. The Cocoa Carriers Association has called off its indefinite sit-down strike, which commenced yesterday, following a critical meeting with the management of the cocoa marketing company and a representative from Cocoa Board. In an interview with City Business News, the national chairman of the Cocoa Carriers Association, Raymond Atanga Abobiga, revealed that management requested workers to resume work with a promise to address their concerns regarding conditions of service within a week. Mr. Abobiga added that workers at the CMC depots in Tema, Takoradi and Kumasi have returned to their duties, hopeful that their issues will be resolved within the agreed period.
Yesterday, we embarked on a sit-down strike. We negotiated with our directors and Cocoa Board, and we come to a conclusion that we have to continue working while they sit down and reconsider our increment. So we decided to work today and also expect something good from them. But then when we reported at the work today, the information came that I was not supposed to work. But my colleagues in Kumasi
persisted that if I'm not working, they are not also working. So a call came from the top management and they said I should work. So right now, Tema is working, Takwari is working, and Kumasi, we are also working. That is the current situation of the strike now. Respect the opinion that they want to sit down and attend or respond back to us in 1 week time. And that is because we also feel the need to offload the cocoa that is in the trucks for the sake of the country.
That was the national chairman of the Cocoa Carriers Association, Raymond Atanga Abobiga. Ghana is seeking to maximize the value of its vegetable export to attract more foreign investment to boost the local economy. To this end, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority is aiming to transform the vegetables export sector through strategic partnerships. CEO of the authority, Dr. Efwa Asabi-Asare, underscores the importance of using high-quality fertilizers to enhance the competitiveness and overall quality of vegetable products for the benefit of farmers.
We cannot go and sell what we don't have. So we collaborate with the Ministry of Agric. In 2017, when there was a ban on some of our vegetables, was because of the kind of fertilizer we were using. Some of the residue is still left on these vegetables when we export them. When they get to their destination, they are sent back. If we are not working in collaboration with the Ministry of Agric, we cannot resolve these issues. And this is what we've been doing for some time now. They will advise us on what the best seedlings are. We give the support to purchase those seedlings for the exporters. We don't know anything about farming. The Ministry of Agric then sets in and helps with the cultivation of these vegetables because we need a product to export. And so that is how we work with the Ministry of Agric, and that is how gradually you are not seeing so much of our vegetables being banned, because we provide the resources to get the best vegetables for the vegetable farmers to grow.
That was the CEO of GAPA, Dr. Fiasabia Asari. Organizational leaders are being urged to ensure that their financial gains align with social impact. The Institute of Directors Ghana believes this balance is crucial to defining the success of their organizations. Professor Douglas Boateng, the convener for the Institute, spoke at the inaugural Boardroom Governance Summit in Accra on the theme Boardroom Governance, Accountability and Long-Term Sustainable Development, the Inextricable Links.
As people, it is about time that we redefine success and what it truly means. It is about time we do that as leaders. We have the unique privilege and responsibility to guide our organizations towards a future where financial gains harmoniously coexist with social impact. Very important. Together, we can create a legacy that resonates through generations. For me, it's about legacy. Inspiring those who follow in our footsteps. We did follow in somebody's footsteps. We have to create footsteps for others to follow. When governance fails, as we have painfully witnessed in stark realities of our rivers.
You heard the convener for the Institute of Directors Ghana, Professor Douglas Boateng. That's it for business on Eyewitness News. My name is Inu Safo. Up next is Point Blank.
Electroland Ghana Limited is back with a massive back-to-school promo. Visit EGL showrooms and authorized dealer stores across Ghana for best offers on...
This is Point Blank on Eyewitness News. My name is Umaru Sandawa. Tonight on Point Blank, we'll talk about the fight against galamsey and also the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign. Kwabena Ejejepon is the former General Secretary of the NPP. He ran as a flag bearer aspirant of the NPP, but he did not make it. He has since joined the Dr. Bawumia campaign team as a senior advisor. Last night, he came for Point of View, a show on Channel 1 television, and was interviewed by Bernard Kokua. They talked about the Bawumia campaign and other issues around galamsey. Please listen.
That the candidate we have is a bit of a unifier. He's someone, for the first time in our political tradition, we've elected someone that within the party has broad support. You know, you hardly see anybody say a bad word about. He's got good interpersonal relations, he's very respectful, and you know, in times past, when somebody wins an election, all of us, the losers, we are lined up to go to the person's residence and pledge support. I quite remember in 1992 when Professor Dubois won, those of us in the Young Executive Forum who supported Dr. Kwame Safo-Oddo, he led us to Prof and said, I'm handing over these young people to you to support you. But Bawumia did not even wait. He's visited each and every one of us, you know, spoken to us about his decision to really work in concert with all of us who contested him. And that is a mark of someone who is very open, very respectful, and a unifying factor. Of course, there are difficulties. In an election, it can be very abrasive, and some tough things were said. But for him to have that presence of mind and the character, and for me, it's the character of the man that attracts me to him very much.
So you said the first difference is the man, but
Yes.
the other difference will also be the time that we're in, because the type of politics you did in 92, 98, 2000, I think it's changed a lot. For example, social media has become very prominent.
Very prominent in
you're
what
not
you
in
do.
control as much of the narrative as you were 20 years ago.
Of course, I mean, because of social media, I mean, anybody can set up a TV station at home and say the toughest of words and unprintable words sometimes. So it's a difficult area to navigate, especially in this kind of scenario. But I do believe that, again, after he won, he settled down to work very quickly, which I think was very good. I mean, his main opponent had been elected perhaps 8-9 months earlier, and he sat at home, did nothing. Bawumia quickly put together his campaign team, put together the manifesto team, you understand, set about his first phase or sector of campaigning, where he visited all the 16 regional capitals. And for the first time in the political history of this country, you had a candidate who was bringing all facets of society together at a sitting. These stakeholder meetings, nobody has ever done it in the history of politics.
Really?
In this country, nobody. Nobody has had consistently go to a region, you bring all the clergy together with the Islamic scholars, the chiefs, then the traditional authority, the business people, artisans, taxi drivers, garages, all of them, their leaders. And it happened in all the 16 regions. You know, and the fact that for the first time, as many people, you know, just giving testimony to even bring the two major religions together under one roof. You know, it has created a certain sense of unity. It's been a unifying way of bringing people together, solidifying their Ghanaianness. You know, so now the kind of mistrust that used to exist between religions has significantly reduced. And I think it's down to perhaps his own upbringing as a person. I mean, you know, he comes from a very interesting family. His mother was a Methodist before she married the father and then changed over to Islam. And so you've got brothers and sisters, 17 still alive, 9 of whom are Christian, 8 of whom are Muslim. So in his household,
but that's very similar to his main opponent, actually.
That's right.
Because his main opponent too has siblings who are Muslim and he's Christian.
And so you see, he's had that affection for everyone. I think his background too has made him very empathetic, you know. So he's been through tough times. Although you can say his father was a middle-class person, but when you have 17 siblings, sometimes things can be tough, you know. So being in school in Sakasaka Primary, it's not a very upmarket primary school. This is a very basic school in Tamale. He went to Tamale Secondary School. So he knows his way around the town. And that's no wonder he's now the patron of many, many societies that care for the poor, especially the needy. He's been working with Father Campbell of the Catholic Church for street children.
Are you emphasizing these attributes because of the nature of the contest that brought him as the flag bearer? Because it was pretty acerbic at some point, particularly with his main opponent, where some very difficult things were said. We don't have time to play all those tapes, but at some point in that campaign, there was even a concern that it could divide the party, you know, until the contest was over. And so are you talking about these unifying things because the contest itself?
I'm talking about the man himself, his own character. And I've known him for a significant amount of time. During President Kufuor's time, I served as press secretary. At the time, he was a PA to Governor Paul Aqua. And so we had quite a number of meetings, either in the castle or in London, on some of these missions. So I got to know him, not too closely as I do now. And so I think he's someone that most party people have affection for, and that's very good. You know, we have to understand that political party contests, there can only be one winner. I, as you said, was a contestant. You understand? And there were times that I had to make some historical corrections. You understand? And some people misconstrue this to mean attacks. Those are not attacks. I think it's important that the record of this country should be properly stated. And then, so when there are issues that have to be corrected, you correct them. But that is where we have an internal contest. I mean, if you look at our main opponents, they also had some very tough battles and tough statements made, but the same people are supporting the candidate. So for me, it's important that right from day one, political tradition, in 1992, I mean, we all remember the famous statement from J.H. Mensah. And J.H. Mensah was closely related to J. Kufuor. You remember the issue of the cassava?
Banchidada.
You understand. But that did not stop him from supporting the campaign of Mr. Kufuor.
But does that not, when, for example, you said that people who supervised the economic decline should not be presented by MPP to lead it?
Yes.
This was during your campaign launch.
Yeah, that's my
very
launch,
definite statement.
Yeah.
And now you're here telling us that you think that he should be given the mandate to lead Ghana.
He has been selected by the party, and I respect the authority of the party. I'm a Democrat, you understand. And he won significantly. I mean, first round, close to 70%. Second round, 61%. For a first-timer, this was my second time, for a first-timer, that was the highest. Aduboahin didn't get that, Kufuor didn't get that, Kufuor didn't get that on their first time. He had 61%. So what is working for him, there's broad support from the chairman.
But the fact that he won doesn't change the view you expressed about him. So when you
I didn't express a view about him. I was talking about the economic difficulties we were facing as a country. In fact,
you said that people who supervise that economic decline should not lead the party and present them for 2024.
So does it mean that at the end of the day, when the party has decided, because I said
so
that I cannot contribute.
Were you stating a matter of principle, or
you were
just campaigning to say that?
You campaign, you say you put your best foot forward. You understand? Your best foot is that, look, I talked about a new dawn, and now Bawumia talks about a new chapter. And I think he's got an opportunity to lead this country and this party in a new dimension, in a new era, with new ideas and new energy. Of course, he's learned a lot from the difficulties that we've seen over the last 2-3 years, especially after 2020, 21, 22, when the economy spiraled out of control. I was one of those who were out there trying to get the president to take action immediately. It didn't happen. Okay? But I'm a party person. Once the party has decided this is the person, that is the choice of our party. We should respect the majority's decision.
That's true, but we also, as politicians, we've said that sometimes if we want people to take us seriously,
that is what
we
you're
must be
going to say.
consistent. No, I'm just saying.
No, we are going to be consistent.
Because
I think
you made some serious statements about his candidature, so now that
I didn't make statement about his candidature. I was talking about the economy of our
and the
country.
people who brought us where we are, of which he was the leader of the economic management team.
Yes.
So if you come back to us and say we should vote for him, what has changed? Just because the party selected him?
What has changed is that this was a political contest. So you are saying that I should now not do politics?
No, that's
again?
what I'm saying.
No, I want you to put yourself in my shoes. So what should you do?
Well, I didn't say the things you said, so I wouldn't know what you should do.
I mean, don't look at only the MPP. Worse things were said by Dr. Dufo about Mahama. Kojo Bonsu said things about Mahama. They are all following him. And you can go to America. Worse things were said in America. In UK, Boris Johnson was supporting the former prime minister. You understand? So
we should take that as the nature of politics.
Of course, it's important that when you are in a contest, you have to put your best foot forward. It was quite clear I hadn't been part of the political system, and that if I had been elected, yes, I wanted that new dawn, somebody who was fresh. You understand? But it does not mean that when the party has selected our candidate, we shouldn't rally around him.
So what is your role as senior campaign aide? What does that mean in practice?
What it means is I bring all the experience that I've gathered, 30 years of politics, worked at the presidency for close to 6 years, been general secretary of the party, to support our candidate because I know the terrain. And so that we can navigate the gullies that you be confronted with in politics. So that is very important. And I think, as I said, his own attitude of being an all-embracing character, a very respectful character, has worked in his favor. It is not for nothing that I believe he used his tenure as vice president very well to win the support of the majority in parliament, a significant majority in parliament. You know, when he contested people who were parliamentarians, that shows you that he had grown and matured politically. And he had the majority of parliamentarians behind him, the majority of constituency chairmen behind him, majority of regional chairmen and executives behind him. I do think that in recent times, this is the leader.
Does his main opponent campaign with him, the Kennedy Japan, who was second?
Yes, he does.
Is he campaigning with him, for him?
Yes, I'm sure you've seen the pictures. We were in Central Region, not only there when we were in Kumasi, he joined us. He's not been with us throughout. Certain times he's been with the vice presidential candidate as well. Okay. So he's on board, he's campaigning. And so that's how.
So just finally on that point, so probably the only blip on all of that is the departure of Alan from the party.
Yes, which I found very sad because we all worked together from 1991-92, played significant roles in the formation of this political tradition, and he also had been placed in significant roles.
So that's Kwabena Ejepong. He's a senior advisor to the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign, speaking to Bernard Avle on the Point of View show on Channel 1 television. That's it by way of Eyewitness News. My name is Umaru Sandamado. I did this with Enu Safo. Production tonight by Kwabena Wilson, Beverly London, and Sami Wiafe. Technical support from Desmond Nyako and Thomas Obindako. On the new media side of things, the support tonight came from the head of new media, Emmanuel Owusu. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow at 17:30 GMT. Have a good evening.